This tool, known as a Gramil, is available from LMI. It is used for marking or scoring binding and purfling channels on instruments like guitars, violins, and mandolins. Using this tool prior to using a router to cut the binding or purfling channels will help reduce tear out in soundboard materials like spruce and cedar. It can also be used together with a chisel to manually cut binding and purfling channels. The radiused part of the tool is used for working in rounded areas like in the waist on a guitar. The flat part of the tool can be used for less pronounced curves and flat surfaces. The first thing you need to do when receiving your Gramil from LMI is hone the blade. So use the Allen tool provided with the tool and remove the blade. Just like when sharpening your other woodworking tools, you need to flatten the back of the blade. Now, I'm going to use a 220 grit water stone to do this. I'm then going to polish it up to a mirror finish on 1,000, 4,000, and 8,000 grit. Once the back of the tool is flat and polished up to a mirror sheen, then we're going to start working on the cutting edge. And this cutting edge has an angle on this side and an angle on this side. So we're going to have to very carefully maintain that angle. That allows you to cut both forward and backward with the tool. Now I'm going to start with 1,000 grit. I'm going to roll this thing up there until I find the correct angle that already came ground on the blade, and then just lightly pull it back. So find the angle and then pull it back. And I'm going to do the same thing on this other side here. Then take that angle and polish it all the way up to 8,000 grit. Once the blade has been honed up to 8,000 grit and has a mirror sheen, you're now ready to go to work. When you install the blade in the tool, make sure that the flat side is towards the inside of the channel. That way when you cut the channel, you get a nice square edge on the inside there. You can set your depth according to how deep you want the channel, and then lock it in place with the Allen tool. You can then set how wide you want the channel by adjusting this arm here. Once you have that dialed in, then you're ready to make the cut. If you're going to be using the tool to manually remove the binding and purfling channels, then there's a little trick you can do. If you come in on this side of the blade and grind about a 20 to 25 degree angle on it, it works as a scraper in hard sides like rosewood, and rather than scoring it, will actually scrape and remove material, and then you can take your chisel and remove the rest. So let me show you how I grind a little angle on that. Be careful not to overheat the steel as you work. So I've got about a 20 degree angle on there. That tip should be nice and sharp now. After grinding the 20 to 25 degree angle, you can lightly hone it and flatten this back edge if you like by rubbing it along the edge of the stone like this. So once you've honed the blade on this end, you've got a 20 degree angle roughly, or a 25 degree angle, and you want to use it to scrape or score the sides in hardwoods like rosewood, place it into the tool so that the angle is facing towards you like this, so you want to use it on the pole stroke. So it goes in like that. Set your depth, and then lock it in place with the set screw. And that's what it looks like. So you're going to be using it on the pole stroke like this. To make a cut, just place the tool using the flat surface. Let's imagine that this is the top of the guitar. Come in like this and lightly pull As you can see, it makes a very precise line, and after scoring along the top, this material can now be removed with a chisel. Alright, so I just showed you how to sharpen the tool. Next thing I'm going to do is show you how to use it. The first problem you're going to have is how to hold the guitar as you work. And I've solved that problem using the LMI vacuum clamping jig. Just place your guitar on it, and it's held securely in place. It also swivels 360 degrees and pivots. This is a handy tool to have in your shop. I'm going to start by using the tool to score the binding and purfling line around the top of the spruce top guitar. I'm going to start by taking my freshly honed edge and installing it into the tool in such a way that the flat part of it is facing the rosette. And you can set the depth on it and then come in with the Allen tool and hold it in place. Now, I highly recommend before you go to your guitar that you do a mock-up on a scrap piece of wood of your binding and purfling scheme. Set everything up before you go to your guitar. So on this particular guitar, I'm going to have a purfling line that's going to be black, white, black, and a binding. And those go on the guitar like this. So I need to set up my Gramil so that it's going to cut the depth of the purfling but the width of the binding and the purfling together. So this is going to be a double step channel. So I've used the Allen tool and the set screw here on top to slide the arm in or out to set it to the correct width of the binding and the purfling line. I've also set the depth of cut, and I tested that on some scrap lumber to make sure that everything is set up properly. So with the tool properly set up, I'm going to come in and start scoring the purfling and binding width into the top of the guitar. Although the tool is made to cut forward and reverse, I want to make sure that I'm cutting out of the grain. So if I start at the widest part, on this side I would cut this way, this side I would cut this way. Over here, same thing. Cut this way, and then this way. On the lower bout, it's the same thing. I start at the widest point, travel downhill, out of the grain, travel this way, out of the grain. Then I'm going to have to swap the arm out and use the radius side to come in and get this area in here. Alright, so here we go. So once again, I'm using the flat part of the tool so that it indexes off the side with no rocking or movement. I'm going to start here and take a very, very light pass. And come back and do it again. And I'm already to the correct depth. Go back around the back side of the lower bout the same way. Very light cut to begin with. And I'm already to the correct depth. So that's how you score for the binding and purfling lines. And you can go all the way around the top of the guitar and then go to your router if you want to and cut the binding and purfling channels with the router. What that does is help score this line here and prevent tear out or chip out from the router bit. So that's one way to use the tool. The other way to use the tool is to come in and score the side of the guitar. And the way I do that is I turn this blade around, so I'm using this part here that I put about that 20 to 25 degree angle on, and I use it as a scraper. Instead of a knife to score, it's going to be scraping a line across the side. So to score the side of the guitar, I'm now going to use the flat surface to index off the top like this. I'm going to take the blade that I sharpened and place it in there so that that angle is going in like this. And I'm going to use it to pull the tool towards me. So I'm going to go ahead and place that into the tool. And of course you want to set your depth of cut as well as how high or low you are on the side by adjusting everything, and do it on some scrap before you go to your guitar. So I've taken a few minutes to properly set up the tool. This is going to rest on the top or the back of the guitar. I've got the tip of the blade facing me so that I'm pulling into the cut, and all I do is come in, set it on the top of the guitar, and that blade works like a scraper. And there's a couple ways you can do it. You can set your blade to cut just a little bit, and then as it bottoms out, reset it and go a little bit deeper, a little bit deeper, a little bit deeper, or you can set it up the full depth. I find it's easier to do it in increments. And as you can see, it scrapes a nice clean line along there for your bindings. If I'm going to remove the bindings and purfling channels by hand, the next step is to come in with a chisel and do that. And since I use the LMI Gramil, I have a nice clean line that I know exactly where I need to be here and where I need to be here. So now it's very easy to just come in with a chisel and remove the material. This is some fairly tedious work, so go slow, take your time. There's no need to rush things here. Use the LMI Gramil and a chisel to remove material from the channels. Before you know it, your binding channels will be looking good and ready for the bindings and purflings to be installed.